From the News Channel 5 network, this is Medical Mondays.
Well, good Monday evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us. I'm Carrie Sharp for another episode of Medical Monday. We have Dr. Leif Swanson with us talking about sleep relief solutions. So if you are trying to keep those eyes open right now, watching, this just show may be for you. Dr. Swanson, thank you for being here once again.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure.
I should tell folks up front, you are a dental surgeon. So
Correct.
Let's talk about this practice, and then we'll make the connection to sleep relief and you being a dentist. So tell me about your practice.
So I have a general practice in Manchester, Tennessee, which is probably almost an hour south of Nashville, in between Nashville and Chattanooga. And it's in a small town, but it's a big practice. We have 10 operatories, several hygienists, a couple dentists, and we stay pretty busy.
I know you stay pretty busy. You told me that last time, and it's actually where you grew up.
Correct. Yeah, it was a blessing to come back and be able to serve a community that just brought me up and took care of me.
You know it very well, obviously, and probably some of the patients have been your friends and family members and preachers and
absolutely coaches and Sunday school teachers, all that.
All that above. Okay, so make the connection for me now. You're a dentist, actually a dental surgeon. So why are we talking about sleep relief solutions?
Well, we in dentistry, it's funny, in dental school you're talking about teeth mostly.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
And we are taught to just fix basically the teeth that are broke or in pain or infection or any kind of pathology with the gums or in the oral cavity. But now we're starting to see, you know, outside of the trees, we're starting to see the forest. We're like, why are these patients grinding? Why, you know, what's the culprit of this acid erosion in their mouth? What's causing this? And for the most part, we're having a lot of education towards sleep medicine. And so it started to become a big part of the practice. And, you know, it falls in a line when we see obesity rising. We're starting to see more people eating processed sugars, dairies, glutens, which causes inflammation and constriction in the pharynx and the throat region. And, you know, we're noticing people are starting to drink more of the energy drinks. And, you know, obviously you see all the coffee places are lined up with people at first thing in the morning. And it's definitely, I think it's becoming a big problem in the United States as we're seeing you know, exponential rise in obesity, as we're starting to see not just in adults but in children as well.
And tonight we are talking about sleep apnea because of that. If you have a question about sleep apnea, if you may have it, how do you find out? And then if you do have it, what do you do about it? And if you have one of those CPAP machines, if you're wondering if there's an alternative, because I know they don't work for everybody, now is your time to call and ask Dr. Swanson your questions. The number is on the screen, 615-737-PLUS is the number. Taylor's back in the back. He'll line up those calls for us, and we'll take them just as soon as they come in. So if you have a question, something you're rolling around your head right now, just go ahead and call and ask it. We'll get you on tonight. Let's talk about sleep apnea. There are a couple of different kinds.
Correct.
And you basically see those who have obstructive sleep apnea. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes, the obstructive sleep apnea is when a patient's laying back in the sleeping position, their airway, they pretty much collapse when they're trying to breathe at night. We recognize when we do a sleep test as an apnea being someone going without air for over 10 seconds. Now, what can be related with the air, people not breathing, obviously, you know, you lack oxygen. And so we have sleep studies that show us, okay, so they're going without air for a certain amount of time. You know, especially with it being 10 seconds, we hope that it doesn't drop below the oxygen saturation percentage of 90%. But I'm seeing some patients that are going sometimes 20 seconds without air and their oxygen saturation drops down to 70%, which obviously starts causing problems.
And I know with sleep apnea, and we'll talk more about this, but people would wake up feeling as though they've been choking. I mean, that's scary, and doing it several times an hour.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
it's strange enough that a lot of the people that call in are the patient's spouse or significant other. And they're scared because they see their spouse or significant other laying in bed next to them, gasping, or like you said, choking and trying to get air. And when that happens, sometimes they have this paradoxal breathing, their diaphragm's trying to go up and down. And so a lot of the up and down motions, even pushing, acid from the stomach up into their mouth, which also can, cause erosion in the mouth, but also cause erosion in the lining of the esophagus and a lot of other, digestive issues from that.
I'm sure it just feels terrible, like heartburn.
Exactly.
We do have, I thought we had a caller line. We had JD. JD, if you want to call back, we'll get you right on. Let's talk about the other symptoms of sleep apnea, or how it may show up. Snoring is involved, but not always, right?
Snoring is kind of a symptom, but that doesn't always mean that they have sleep apnea. What we see in the dental office, what is related to dentistry, is sometimes you see grinding of the teeth, and patients are coming in, they're like, I wake up in the morning, I have a lot of soreness, in my jaws, in this little joint region. And that's related to when they're choking or gasping, they're trying to constrict muscles to open that airway. And so at the time of their clenching, those muscles try to open the airway so they can get breath. Obviously, what we call TMD, which is temporomandibular disorder, which is the inflammation of the disc around that joint, can also be a symptom, especially if they're waking up in the morning and having that discomfort. So a lot of these things that are dental related are coming from the culprit of them having their airway basically obstructed, or I like to use the analogy, their airway being a hose that is kinked at night.
Makes sense. Let's get back to the line. JD called back in. Hi JD, thank you for calling back. What's your question tonight? JD, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead, JD.
Yes, I was concerning the CPAP machine. How do you know if you're using the machine right? That's basically my difficulties.
Okay. Thank you, JD, for calling in. I'm going to hang up on you so you can just listen to your TV right now. Let's talk about that CPAP machine, and perhaps you can answer this for JD, because it does not work for everybody. So I'm sure you've dealt with patients who say, it ain't working, what's the other option? Yeah,
so studies are showing that the compliance with the CPAP is around 50 to 60%. And CPAPs are definitely the standard of care for people with obstructive sleep apnea and central sleep apnea. But when you don't have the compliance, then we have to find alternatives, because the person still, that disease is just going to worsen as time goes on. So to answer JD's question, if you wake up in the morning and the mask is not on your face, that's one clue.
That's a big clue.
The next would be if you have that mask on and you're hearing noises like it's leaking, because they typically come with standard fitting mask. And everybody has different size face, their convexity of their face is different. So that could affect the fit of those masks. Also, JD, if you have a problem with the claustrophobia and having the mask on at night, or you can't sleep in a supine position, then that's going to affect you being able to be compliant with the CPAP machine. And we've talked about too, if you have a spouse, significant other that you're sleeping with, it's just not the best. I mean, it's kind of like Darth Vader over there, right? I mean, if it's your only option, you got to do it. This could be a life-saving option, but there are alternatives, and I do want to talk about what you brought along. It's an oral appliance. Correct. Tell me what this is that we're looking at. So this appliance, and most of the appliances, what we have. Set it back down, so right there. My bad. That's okay. My bad. So this appliance, what we have is, and most of the appliances are like this. They are mandibular, which is the bottom jaw, advancement. So basically, what we're doing is we're taking the mandible and we're moving it forward. At the same time, it's a retainer that fits on the top and the bottom jaw. So that retainer holds the teeth open, so it creates a bigger airspace this way. But as we move that mandibular bone forward, the lower jaw forward, then we create a space. And basically, like I've said before, use the analogy of unkinking the hose. We're taking that collapsed airway and we're opening it up.
Is this as effective as the CPAP machine?
We definitely are seeing more compliance. Even on some of the severe cases that I've treated, we've had better compliance with that than we've had with the CPAP. Now, is it
foolproof?
Foolproof, I don't think anything in medicine is foolproof, but we definitely are getting close to 70 to 80% compliance with the oral appliance.
Does it feel like you're just wearing a retainer at night? Does it take some getting used to? What are patients telling you?
So patients, for the most part, it takes about a week. It's like wearing any kind of prosthesis. It's like wearing a mouth guard. But the nice thing about it is that it's custom fit. We take impressions of your teeth. I do all the measurements in my office to make sure it's comfortable when we move that, basically the bottom jaw forward, and we have the patient bite down with that, and we have the patient open with it just to make sure it's comfortable. Then we take custom impressions. It's all custom made just for your mouth, and we actually fit it, and we can titrate it and move it forward or back to make the patient comfortable at night and make sure that it's working.
Yeah, that's big. All right, let's go to Mike. He's on the line. Hi, Mike. Thank you for calling in. What's your question tonight?
Hi, yes. I'm a truck driver, and I've got a CPAP machine, and I don't like it, and I don't use it. But the only problem is I've got to prove compliance, and I was just wondering if there's a way to prove compliance with his product.
Mike, we said before the show that we wanted to talk about this, so thank you for calling in so very much. Again, I'm going to put you on hold to listen to your TV. You're seeing this a lot in your office.
Yes, we've actually just had a couple truck drivers come through this past week. And
because with the CPAP, there's a chip installed with it, and then the doctor can do the readout. You send it to your company.
Well, with so with the CPAP, they're connected. Basically, a lot of them have to be connected to a Wi-Fi device where they're showing that they're wearing it. And typically, depending on the truck driving company, they're wanting them to wear it for at least 5 hours a night. And most of the truck drivers that we're having coming in, and when you're on the road, that makes it hard. I mean, it's hard to travel with that case. With this, we're talking about an orthodontic appliance case. So for Mike, to answer your question, with the company that we use, we do have a chip that's embedded into the appliance itself, and it shows how long you're wearing it, and it shows if you're in a whatever position that you're in and that you're sleeping in at night. Your company or my office can download the information on the chip and send it to wherever it needs to go and show that you're being compliant with the device.
Wow.
So it makes it a lot more convenient, I think, especially for the bigger trucking companies that's kind of losing some of their good drivers due to not being compliant with their CPAP. Is a great alternative for them.
And I think that we can all agree that we want our truck drivers, who are so very important to our nation and getting things moving around, we want them to be rested when they're on the road and feel good. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, so good option. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more of your calls and questions, and we'll find out more about this appliance. Stay with us.